You know, Diddy bought his son a Bentley. Maybe, you know, he could buy you one also while you're out.
He got me a Lamborghini.
Oh, well, that's nice.
I haven't gotten it yet, though.
Yeah, I know. When is that coming, that Lamborghini? We talked about this last time.
He had the Lamborghini for a day or two, and he had access to the house, and he knows better than to be talking about the things that he does with Big Brother Puff on national television.
Oh, apparently not.
Something.
What's going on with you guys? Are you working together?
I'm not. I mean, I think that we become friends in a strange way, you know.
Like Robin Big.
Yeah, it's like exactly.
I'm Big and you're Robin.
Yeah. No, I mean, to a lot of us, he's like a little brother. You know what I'm saying? He's not afraid to call and ask for advice. He's somebody that, in the industry-wise, the record industry is a strong family, and he's somebody that, you know, we definitely have our arms around, and we want to protect him because he's such genuinely a nice person besides his talent. You know what I'm saying? He's one of the greatest kids that you could ever know.
Joe Rogan sat in the studio, silent. The air felt heavy. His usual energy was gone, replaced with something much deeper, a mix of sadness and disbelief. He had just gone through court files that laid bare what Justin Bieber went through under Diddy's watch, and the weight of it was crushing. This wasn't gossip. These were legal documents, verified and detailed, and they painted a picture of a teenager caught in a system that cared more about control than his well-being. Joe's hands rested on the papers in front of him, but his eyes looked far away, almost as if he was trying to process how something like this could happen right in the open.
So check this out, yo. Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like you know, where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. You know, I have been given custody of him. You know, he signed to Usher.
I'm signed to Usher.
I had legal guardianship of Usher when you know he did his first album. I did Usher's first album. I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So
the first page he read was dated from when Justin was only 15. It wasn't a flashy contract or a media release. It was a letter written in shaky handwriting. In it, Justin talked about feeling exhausted, wanting to go home, and missing his mom. There was no rebellion in his words, just the quiet desperation of a kid who had been pushed too far. Joe's voice broke when he read it out loud on air. He stopped mid-sentence and put the letter down. Joe remembered the public appearances from those years, the interviews. Years there, the stage smiles, the flashy parties. Everyone thought they were seeing a young star living the dream, but the truth hidden in those files told another story. Schedules that kept him away from home for weeks without real breaks. Trips to properties far from any family contact. Rules that cut off his ability to reach out for help. Joe shook his head. This wasn't mentorship. This was control. This was ownership, he said softly.
Because I think if a victim comes out against Usher, it'll show how egregious this shit is. Because if he can be a predator, then anybody can be a predator.
Can't smile in your face the whole time.
You feel what I'm saying? Like, people look at Usher, they don't see that. They're not seeing the victim. They're not seeing that boy that got rushed to the hospital. They're not seeing what the intentions was in his heart when he took Justin Bieber there.
Oh.
Let's be honest. He took Justin Bieber there. Diddy had been trying to get to Bieber for a minute. And his management was backing him off. But it wasn't until Usher took over management and had guardianship and gave temporary guardianship to the diddler for 48 hours. Think about that.
And then you have him come to audition for you, right?
Actually, with a few people. My wife at the time.
Right.
It also was Perry Reed, L.A. Reid's first wife.
You were all sitting in a room somewhere.
We were in a room.
Yeah.
And I showed her the video. And Perry says, "Are you crazy? You better get down there and meet this kid right now. He's amazing."
When all these pics come out and all this stuff with Bieber's big penis, are you the mastermind behind that? Say, listen, show off your big penis and people will come to those concerts. Or are you sitting there?
Is that the kind of manager he's doing?
Usher, are you sitting down with him and saying, yeah, show your cock or leave it in your pants? I mean, do you sit him down and say, look, part of this is PR,
Hey,
man.
by the way, he does have a brain of his own.
Yeah, but were you shocked at the size of his penis?
Hey, listen, he has a mind of his own. What he chose to do with his penis is his prerogative. He's managing that aspect of his life.
But Usher, is somebody...
I have nothing to do with Justin Bieber's private parts, man.
The court records detailed an itinerary for a weekend with Diddy that had no music training, no rest days, just constant round-the-clock obligations under Diddy's control. Meetings, late-night sessions, mandatory events. For a grown adult, it would have been exhausting. For a kid, it was suffocating. Joe stared at the list and said, they called this an opportunity. I call it a trap. There was a grainy, still image attached to the file. It showed Justin standing in a hallway at 3 a.m, holding his guitar, flanked by 2 assistants. His shoulders were slumped, his eyes were half closed. The caption read, "No unscheduled exits." Joe didn't look away from the screen for nearly a minute. That's not how you protect a kid, he finally said. That's how you isolate one. Another section of the court documents included a psychological assessment from that same period. It mentioned anxiety, a constant feeling of being watched, and difficulty trusting people. The report was clinical, but between the lines, it told the story of a teenager under a kind of pressure that could crush even the strongest adult. Joe folded the paper and said, and we all clapped for it. We all called it success. As the details poured out, Joe's sadness grew. He played a video clip of 15-year-old Justin sitting next to Diddy on a talk show couch. The crowd was screaming. Justin smiled on cue. But now, watching it with everything he knew, Joe saw the tension in the kid's body language. The forced cheer. The way his eyes kept darting away from the camera. We should have seen it, Joe said. It was right there. The legal files also outlined how Diddy had obtained what was described as temporary guardianship during certain months of Justin's early career. At the time, it was presented as a playful arrangement in public, but the reality written in the court language was clear. Justin was placed under Diddy's control for extended periods without his family present. Joe put it bluntly. That's not mentorship. That's power. And it was power over a kid who couldn't say no. Joe compared the timeline in the documents with Justin's public breakdowns years later. The pattern was impossible to ignore. Stress, burnout, public outbursts, all connected to a foundation that had been unstable from the start. When you take a kid out of his home, out of his safety net, and put him in an environment where the only voice that matters is the one controlling him, you're setting him up for collapse, Joe said.
What's up, man? You good?
I'm good. How are you?
All right, young brother, everything's good?
Everything's
Selling
great.
out arenas and everything?
Yeah.
Starting to act different, huh? You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, I mean, you try to get in contact with me, through all my, partners and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But you never really got my number, so.
Right, okay.
My number?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you my number.
Yeah.
It's 555.
Yes. Okay.
5555.
Okay. 55. You heard that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Flown out to Atlanta by a manager. His name's Scooter Braun. Flown out to Atlanta just to meet with him and meet different producers and different people. I was actually going to meet Jermaine Dupri at his studio. And who rolls up? Usher in his Range Rover. Rolls up, and I was like, "Is that who I think it is?" And Scooter was like, "Yeah." And so I ran up to him and I was like, Usher, I love your songs. You want me to sing you one? And he was like, let's just go inside, little buddy. It's cold out. So the politest possible way he could say no, he did. And I was like, wow, he just turned me down. And I was a little disappointed. He had to go into a studio session, so I was like, whatever. And a week later, he actually watched my videos with my manager and was like, oh my gosh, why didn't I let him sing? So flew me back to Atlanta where I got to meet him again, and he wanted to sign me. But there was something else.
Justin Timberlake, right?
Yes, Justin Timberlake also wanted to sign me. It was what happened was Justin Timberlake and Usher both went into a ring and boxed it out. And the outcome was Usher. I think it was a TKO.
By the midpoint of the episode, Joe's usual rhythm was gone. There was no banter, no laughter. Every time he turned a page, the weight in his voice deepened. He spoke directly to the audience, telling them this wasn't about celebrity drama. It was about a teenager who should have been allowed to grow up, but wasn't. This isn't a cautionary tale about fame, Joe said. It's a warning about who we let control that fame. Then came a segment from a private deposition included in the evidence. Justin, now older, described how he often felt like he couldn't speak out because the people around him were loyal to Diddy, not to him. The system was closed. Every door led back to the same person. Joe read the transcript slowly, his voice almost cracking again. Imagine being a kid and realizing every adult in the room answers to the same person, except you, he said. Joe wasn't guessing. He wasn't speculating. The files were in front of him. They told a story that was consistent, documented, and disturbing. He reminded his viewers that these weren't rumors pulled from the internet. These were sworn statements, contracts, letters, and photos, all part of a legal record. As the episode reached its final moments, Joe leaned forward toward the camera. If this is what it took for Justin to become the superstar we all know, then the price was too high, way too high. He paused, letting the silence hang. I don't know if we can undo the damage, but we can make sure it doesn't happen to anyone else. He ended by calling for systemic change in the music industry, more protection for young artists, transparency and mentorship programs, contracts that require family access at all times. Joe made it clear, if you're going to guide a young performer, your first job is to keep them safe, not to control them.
The you of then was on a path of self-destruction.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I would have, for sure, 100%. Yeah. It would have been no bueno. It was bad. I don't know if I'd be alive, for sure. It was dark. So I'm very, very grateful to have influences in my life that have played a huge part in me seeing their relationship with Jesus and their relationship with their wives and their relationship with their kids and saying that's what I want. But I want to definitely tell my story so that if that resonates to anybody, that they can hopefully. But yeah, just protecting those moments because people take for granted encounters and
months ago, I was really struggling mentally and emotionally, and just there was so many things that were adding up, and I wasn't able to enjoy any of the things that I own.
That stuff's not going to matter to you.
None of the actual things did anything because I was so hurt and I was so confused and I was so sick and there was all these things, and I was like, I can't, there's like, you just can't, like you said, you can't enjoy the actual physical, tangible, like things that money offers, right?
The comment section exploded when the episode went live. Fans of Justin were emotional, many saying they felt guilty for not noticing the signs earlier. Others thanked Joe for putting the truth out without watering it down. And within days, more people who had been in similar situations started speaking up. Joe Rogan hadn't set out to cry on air, but when the truth is laid out in black and white, sometimes that's the only reaction left. And for Justin Bieber's story, sadness was the only honest place to start. Joe sat back in his chair after the cameras cut to a short break, but he didn't relax. His eyes stayed on the court exhibit spread across the table, like he was still trying to piece together every moment that had been hidden from the public for years. When the show returned, he didn't start with a recap. Instead, he dove into something even more personal, a section of the files that documented Justin's life right after those intense months with Diddy. According to the timeline, Justin's first major world tour started just weeks after one of those so-called mentorship periods ended. The reports described him going into that tour already exhausted, both physically and mentally. There were doctor's notes tucked into the paperwork, mentioning recurring headaches, severe fatigue, and even stomach issues caused by stress. Joe tapped the page. This was before the first show even started, he said quietly. He was already running on empty.
We had seen these videos of Justin Bieber being handed over to him at age 15. Great job. Great job. And for his weekend with Diddy camp. I mean, we don't know, but it certainly looks like Justin Bieber is still suffering the fallout from whatever happened to him as he was coming up the ranks of the music world. It really doesn't seem worth it. I mean, I'd love to hear more from his camp about what's real, because it's clear he's suffering. We just don't know from what. And what mother out there would give her 15-year-old boy over to a grown man who's in the rap industry for a weekend with Diddy camp without other adult supervision?
Anyways, I want to also just show you this montage. This is a montage that was shared by Evie Magazine. They do great work on their TikTok of Justin Bieber, again, just 15 years old, in Hollywood, surrounded by a bunch of adults. And you let me know if any of this registers to you as normal. Take a listen.
Wow. I feel violated right now. Wow.
Lean into me again. You smell amazing. How old are you?
Thank you.
How old are you?
I'm 16. I'll be 17 in like 2 weeks.
I don't ever remember smelling that good at 16. Like that was bad.
Yeah.
Wow, look at your eyes. Look at what a beautiful face. All right, now it's time to...
Joe then brought up a series of emails between Justin's early management and event organizers. In them, Justin's team tried to push for breaks, asking for days off or lighter schedules. Each time the requests were rejected with the reasoning that Justin's momentum couldn't be interrupted. Momentum? Joe repeated, shaking his head. That's not momentum. That's a machine. And machines don't care when the person inside is breaking down. The next set of evidence showed something that hit Joe especially hard. Photographs from hotel rooms during the tour. Not glamorous, not staged for social media, just candid snapshots of Justin alone, surrounded by piles of clothes, unfinished meals, and unopened fan letters. In one picture, he was slumped on the bed with his shoes still on, clearly asleep after what must have been an exhausting day. Joe stared at the image and said, "That's a kid who should have been at home, not trying to survive in a system like this." There were also diary entries written by Justin during this period. One entry read like a list, things he missed. His mom's cooking, sleeping in his own bed, skateboarding with friends, having a day with no cameras. Joe's voice lowered as he read each line, letting the audience feel the absence in every word. You know how much it says when a teenager misses just being bored? That's how you know the pace was unnatural, he said. But what made Joe's expression shift from sadness to visible frustration was the way the industry responded when early signs of burnout started showing. Instead of slowing down or letting Justin rest, the solution was to increase his public appearances. Joe pointed to one section of the documents where a publicist suggested scheduling more high-energy events to keep public interest strong. Joe almost laughed in disbelief. So the answer to someone drowning was to throw them in deeper water? The final part of this segment came from a medical evaluation years later after Justin had already been open about his struggles. The report linked those early years of overwork and isolation to the long-term anxiety and health issues he would face as an adult. Joe read the conclusion out loud. Sustained stress during developmental years has lasting consequences. He looked straight at the camera. That's not just a medical opinion, that's a warning to anyone in charge of a young performer today. And with that, Joe reminded his viewers that this wasn't about reliving the past for the sake of drama. It was about recognizing a pattern that could easily repeat itself if no one speaks up. If we let this slide, he said, then we're telling every young artist out there that their well-being comes second, and that's not something I'm willing to accept.